Okay, hello everybody. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Cessna Skyhawk C172. We have a 68 nautical mile flight from Mike, Quebec, Sierra, Chester County to Sierra Echo Golf, Penn Valley, Selinsgrove. We are flying with WB Sim's C172 Enhancement Pack, which is the reality expansion pack for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It makes everything much more realistic inside of the cockpit. I've flown to Penn Valley in real life, so we've got some video of both the approach and what the FBO looks like, so be sure to tune into the flight brief to see that awesome real life video. Should be a great flight, so let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. One of my channel viewers suggested I try this enhancement, and I am always looking for ways to add to the realism of the C172 and also have state saving, which is one of the things I've complained about on this channel, so we're going to give it a shot. You can see that I've adapted 5207 Quebec's real-life livery over to the WB Sim enhancement. There's a couple small changes here. If we look at the panel, we've got some wear on the parking brake and the fuel selector, and we've got pop-outs and working circuit breakers for things like the autopilot, which has a gold ring around it. So if we look down here, we can get started. All of our circuit breakers are in. You do have to check that now because they can pop out with WB Sim. All the switches are off, the mixture's to cut off. Our trim is set to take off. Our fuel selector is currently on right. We'll rotate it through each position and then put it to center. We'll push the fuel cutoff. We'll check that the prop is clear, and then I'm curious, in real life, I do an Alt-Air check by pulling this little red knob here and looking for the VSI to hop, and it didn't. So curious if the enhancement pack would model that, and it did not. Alright, I've still got the pitot tube cover on, and one of my gripes here is in order to take all of that off, there's no EFB or anything like that. You actually need to turn on the power to the airplane, turn on the avionics, and then head over to the ADF to access the menu. So we've got the battery on. You can see that one of the changes is the annunciator panel is blinking. I'll head over here and we'll get the beacon on while I'm down here. And there's the ADF, so we need to turn on the avionics buses. Head over here, and next I need to turn the volume all the way up on the ADF, and once I do that, it will enable quick spots on the ADF screen. Now by clicking on the ADF screen, I can access the menu for the WB Sim enhancement pack. So we've turned realism on. Going to head over, and everything's red because all of the ground elements are still on, so I'll click each of those. Those will toggle green, and that will remove them from the airplane. We'll also make sure that state saving is turned on. Some of the other features here, it tracks oil usage, engine wear and tear, things like spark plug fouling. It's pretty cool. But for now, we are done there, so I can go and turn the avionics back off. I'll check that the prop is still clear, and it is. So I can head down here, and we're going to get the fuel pump on, bring the mixture into full rich. Let's check if the fuel flow goes up and peaks, and that gauge is not moving. So we'll bring it back out, crack it a little bit, and turn the fuel pump off. Next, feet on the brakes, hands on the starter and the keys. Clear prop. And it didn't start. So this is one of my complaints about things like the reality expansion pack, is that sometimes you have a lot of hijinks trying to start the plane. So let's bring in the mixture a little bit. Maybe we had it too far off for cutoff. We'll give this another shot. And nothing. It's possible the engine is flooded. So this is one of my complaints about some of the reality expansion packs, is that often it's a little bit of a video game trying to figure out the parameters to get a good engine start. And this is ironic, right? Because I fly Cessnas in real life, and they're sometimes a little finicky to start, but usually, 75% of the time they start right up on the first try. And at worst, I need to bring in the throttle a bit sometimes to get them started. So we'll try that here. I'm going to bring in the throttle. Have our mixture nearly at cutoff. Still not working. Let's bring in the mixture a little bit more. Here we go. Alright, that finally did it. So we'll put that out. I will say starting, the plane with the throttle fairly in is a little frightening in real life because, you're just holding the whole thing with your brakes. But let's head back here. And we've got our oil pressure, so that looks good. We're already leaned for ground operations. Everything's looking stable, so we can get bus 1 and bus 2 for the avionics on. And then we actually have to turn the power on from the knobs on each of the Garmins. So we'll boot those both up. You can see that there's also some changes with the pack to how the autopilot looks. You've got to actually put the altitude into it, or the altimeter into it. So we're reading our altimeter off the altimeter. I'm going to head over here and just set that. I'm running with custom weather because the real weather today in PA is pretty windy. There we go. We'll get our transponder to standby, then we head up to the Garmins and press enter, and as they are going through their boot up routines and we're getting all of our frequencies in, I will open up ForeFlight and take you through the flight brief. This is a very straightforward VFR flight from one untowered field to another, flying in a straight line. In real life, we would pick waypoints every 10 miles or so. Those would be nice visual things. I like to use crossings, like an interstate crossing where we're perpendicular to it. Lakes are very easy to see. Towns in the middle of countryside, very easy to see. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look for reservoirs, we're going to look for airports, towns, lakes, and mark them off as we go along. We'll know we're getting close to Selinsgrove when we spot the Susquehanna River, and the airport is right along the banks of the Susquehanna, which gives you a really scenic approach coming into it. Here's actual video of the FBO at Penn Valley. Selinsgrove is a very cozy airport that's awesome to fly into, and they have a really cool FBO. You can see they've got an aviation mural here. And then as I pan around, tucked in the corner is a flight simulator from 1941. So it even has an instructor station to it. If you peer inside, you can see all of the controls. When you arrive at Penn Valley, you fly across the Susquehanna, and if you end up on runway 17 like I am here, entering the left downwind, there's a mountain where you would normally turn base. So you either need to do a very short approach or do an extended downwind and fly around the mountain, which is what I've done here. And if you do that extended downwind, you are rewarded with just a beautifully scenic approach. We'll be doing that in the simulated flight as well, so be sure to watch out for this spot when we arrive in the video montage and see how it compares to the real footage here. Alright, we've got everything set up. Let's do our CTEF call. Chester County traffic, Skyhawk 5207 Quebec, taxi from the ramp to runway 29 run-up area, Chester County. Selinsgrove, where we are flying to, is a default airport, although I opened it up in the scenery editor and made some adjustments to that as well. We'll pull over here into the run-up area, and we'll do a quick run-up. So here we've got a good drop for both of our mags. Everything sounds normal. We leaned it for ground operations, so no fouling here. Chester County traffic, Skyhawk 5207 Quebec, taxi from the run-up area to runway 29, hold short, Chester County. Chester County traffic, Skyhawk 07 Quebec, departing runway 29, will departing to the northwest, climbing to 4,500, Chester County. Alright, game on. So if you have been watching my channel and you noticed that this video looks a bit different, it's because it's different editing software. Lately I've been editing my real-life flight videos in DaVinci Resolve, which is full-featured editing software and has a bit of a steep learning curve. So now I am doing my flight sim videos in them, which gives me awesome color grading, Just superb editing abilities is a bit more work, but let me know if you like it. Alright, we are coming up on 55, and rotate. And we are off. So there's not a lot of wind here in the simulator, but I'm getting pushed around quite a bit here. So I'm going to check my wind settings and weather settings before we get underway. But other than that, everything is looking fine. So we're going to do a turn out to the northwest and continue climbing to 4,500. Let's get our autopilot on and sit back and enjoy that awesome flight simulator scenery. Alright, that was an awesome flight. I love flying to airports that I've been to in real life, and it's cool being able to go there anytime I want to just by booting up the simulator. The DaVinci software makes everything look more realistic, don't you think? So I think it's kind of cool, and it matches the real life footage even more closely. I hope you enjoyed this flight. If you did, be sure to click that like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Each of those actions is a vote for more content like this. So thanks, as always, for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.